Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be assembling the middle part of the temple and I'm going to be casting my little figures. I've got to make 16 of these. I'm going to try making a plasticine mold of this figure because I want to cast maybe 4, 5 at a time to get my 16 total. And I think that'll work. I don't want to use my rubber mold. I might use that for the whole temple when it's done. I'll cast one side of it. That way I can reproduce the entire temple with one kind of cement pouring. I'm going to try and build a bit of a wall behind the figure here so then I can cement it against my column here. And that'll strengthen this all up, this whole area. So I'm warming the plasticine up in my hand to get it nice and soft so I can push it against the figure here. Okay, the plasticine's nice and soft, so I'm going to start adding it to the figure now. All right, here I go. So I'm just going to add a little bit at a time, pushing it in against the sculpture here. And as I said before, this doesn't have to be, 100% accurate because the figures on the temple are quite broken and you can barely recognize what they are. So as long as this sort of looks like a person, I think it'll work out just fine. Now I think I'm going to put the bottom on separately. So I'll try and get this part of the mold off first, and then I'll put something underneath to kind of contain this area. Okay, so now I'm going to start thickening this up here so I can pull it off without distorting it too much. Now I'm going to start building up the mold to make kind of like a box shape so I can set the mold down like this when I pour the cement in. All right, here I go. I'll try getting it out of the mold. Hopefully nothing will break. Just ease it out, wiggle it a bit. It's coming. Come on. There we go. So there's a bit of funny stuff here I can take out. And that is it. I've got to cap the end in here. And that is ready for casting. So I'll mix up some cement and we'll see how it turns out. I'm mixing the cement up and I'm making it quite runny so it flows into the mold. So hopefully we don't get a lot of air bubbles trapped in there. Into the footwell there first. See how nice and liquidy that is? I want to make sure it's in there well. Like that. Get the excess off of here. I guess I mixed up a little too much cement. I didn't want to run out. Okay, well hopefully this is the first of 16. While my casting of my sprite is drying, I'm going to start cementing together the middle section of the temple, so I'll soak them in water to get them ready. I'm also going to be working on the upper part of the temple, chiseling it away to make it a little more realistic. I've done a fair amount of carving now. It's starting to look better. I'm starting to get these contours better. I have a long way to go still, but some progress today on the carving. So I'm going to go back to working on the mid part of the temple now. I've had these pieces soaking in a bucket of water, so they're good and soaked. So now I've got to assemble them, so I've got to lay out exactly where this square goes. So I'll have to measure in from each edge and scribe a line. I don't want my column to be offset slightly or anything. All right, I'll lay out where my top part goes on, and I'll keep spraying it with water. Make sure I'm getting a good bond with the cement. 18 centimeters across, and these are 10. That means I need 4 on each side. All right, I'll scribe a line. And I also have to look down from the top view to make sure it's all squared up. All right, so I'll cement this one on first. Well, someone suggested I use some tile grout or something to do this, which might be better, but I don't know. Probably would be. Okay, so this has got to go on. So somewhere about there. Now I just got to make sure it's squared up. That looks good. And I'll put my next layer on. And this will all be reinforced with the Sprites around it, so it'll be good and solid, this column. Okay, piece number 2 goes on now. And again, I just got to square up the corners. Like that. My next layer goes on. Put my mortar in here. And these pieces are all roughened up, so it should stick pretty good. Okay, I think that's good. Just spray the excess cement off. While the middle section is drying here, I'm going to remove my first casting of my Sprite from the plasticine mold. So we'll see how it turns out. So here I go. So I'm going to try and reuse this mold if I can, but it may not be possible. I'll take off this end piece. And I don't expect this to be a really accurate casting. I don't know if I'll be able to reuse this mold. I don't even know if this will look like anything. All right, here it comes. I'm going to remove it from the mold now. It's coming out. There we go. Okay, there we are. Well, that turned out better than I expected. It's actually pretty good. Awesome. Well, that's great. So that will go right over here. Somewhere like that. Yeah, I think that'll look pretty good when I get a whole bunch of them going around. I'll remove some of the flashing around the edges of the figure here. Yeah, even the hair turned out pretty good. Kind of amazed, actually. All right, so I've got to make 16 of these. Holy cow. 16, that's a lot. My goodness, because there'll be one on each corner. 3 across the front, 1, 2, 3. Wow. Suppose I could get away with 2 across the front. Maybe, I don't know. All right, I'll keep going. So I'm going to try and reuse this mold. I'll put the original piece back in and then try and press my mold up around it. And by beefing the mold up like this, you get less distortion when you take it off. So it makes a more accurate molding, and also allows me to reuse the mold because it's fairly tough. Here it comes.
Okay, another piece of the hair broke off there, but that's okay. It's all looking very good. I just have to cap the end of the mold now, and that'll be 2 ready for pouring. Okay, I've got a good runny cement mixture. In it goes. Okay, I think the first mold's good. Let's get number 2 in there. Okay, I think that's good. I'll let those 2 dry. I think the base of the temple is going to look really good once I get all the figures around it. That'll be really a detailed piece for the temple. It's time to pull out the new sprites out of their molds. So here I go. Now I think I will start with the bottom cap coming off on both of them. Yeah, see how that didn't really fill too well down there? That was, well actually that was the first one. Maybe it'll be okay, I don't know. Okay, so separating the mold here, just kind of pulling it apart a bit, loosen up the edges, just like repotting a tree. Oh, okay, so this just broke in half. I have no idea why. That's too bad. I didn't even push on it hard. Yeah. Probably, I don't know. Okay, so there's that out. So I've got to reattach the head. Yeah, that's too bad. Yeah, that didn't turn out so nice. Anyway, it's usable. Just needs a head. Let's try this one. Hopefully this one went a little better. Ooh, that one's cracking too. Maybe I just didn't let them harden enough. Maybe I'm pulling them out of the molds too early. It has been like an hour and a half. Oh, it's cracking. Yeah, I think I just didn't let it harden enough. However, I will get them out now. Maybe I'm a little impatient. And that might be because I have to make 16 of them. Oh, this is not going well. Come on. Bad, bad, bad. Okay. Okay. There's the legs. So that one has to be attached here. And it won't be too bad because I am going to cast the backing to them. So there's another 2. Put that one there. And I don't know, will I be able to fit 3 in here? Maybe I'll simplify it and just have 3 per side. More like that. Yeah, maybe just 3 per side. So I'd have to cast 1, 2, 3, 4 more. That's not too bad. It's a more realistic number, actually 5, because I got to do this one. All right, I'll keep going. There's a look at the temple with the top on. I think I want to build out the central figure more, just to make this middle column look a little larger. So I think what I'll do is I'll cast a piece going down the middle here that'll bring the center statue out more. And then I'll leave the one on the corners as is, kind of blend them in eventually. I'm trying to decide what to do in the middle here. if I should just build out a rectangular section or have kind of a frame around the figure. A lot of possibilities.
I've got 2 more molds ready for casting. I noticed the plasticine is starting to stick to the Das clay figure, and it's kind of making it hard to release from the mold. So I'll have to maybe paint this with Vaseline or something so it doesn't stick as much. I don't know, Vaseline might make it stick more, maybe a powder or something, I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to cast these, and hopefully these will turn out better than the last 2. I was kind of disappointed with the last 2 castings. They broke and they weren't very detailed, and yeah, they didn't turn out very good at all. The first one was good, but so let's see if I have any better luck with these 2.
Okay. I'll try and make it even runnier this time. It hardened up so fast last time. But it is thickening up, so I guess that's the secret, is to make it like totally watery and then it thickens up. Okay, into the mold it goes. Oh! Okay. Well, that was a disaster. Kind of missed there. It just suddenly splurted out. All right, well, I'd say the secret of this casting is to get your cement consistency just right. Now this is firming up nicely and it's warm. So I don't know, maybe that runnier consistency is better. That one's really warm.
Well, time will tell if that was a disaster or not, or if it maybe turned out okay. So I'll let those 2 harden. I'm going to wait at least, I think, 3, maybe even 4 hours from now. I want them good and hard. I don't want them all breaking apart like they did last time. And I think that was just because I took it out of the mold too early. They weren't the greatest castings either, so I'm hoping these 2 are better. I'm going to make a rectangular piece that brings the center figure out more. So I've made the mold over here. I'll show you that. So there's the mold there, and when the cement is still wet, I'm going to place the figure on top, cementing it in place with the rectangle. So hopefully that'll work. I'll give it a try.
Okay, that's filled the mold. Now I've got to make sure my figure's here. I was going to come to here, make sure it's centered. Maybe about there, eh? And then I've got to attach the head here. Okay, now I got to smooth everything out. Han Solo cast in carbonite. It's much later. I'm going to take this out of the mold now. Okay, that's all out. So I just have to break it loose from the plywood here. There we go. So that is it. I think it's looking pretty good. I'll put it on the temple and just see what it looks like. All right, so I'm going to take out the middle figure here, and I'll put in this one. Now I got to get it centered. I'll rotate it around so you can kind of see it a little better. So it just adds a bit of thickness to here. I think that looks good. It kind of puts the figures in a circle pattern. And I'll fill in behind here so it'll look a little thicker, this bottom column. Yeah, so I think that's going to be quite nice. I'm going to try and get my latest castings out of the molds. Hopefully it doesn't all break apart like last time. It's still quite soft, the cement. Let me take the bottom off this one. This one's much harder. I think the first one, that might have been the more liquidy cement. So I'm going to open this one up. It seems really hard. I can't scratch it away with my fingers. So. All right, well, let's see how it came out. I got the figure out of the mold and I cleaned it up a bit. And so this is the newest one. on this side, on the left-hand side, and that was my first casting on the right-hand side here. So they're pretty good. Both of them I'm happy with. This one needs a little more taken off down below. It's a little high, but it looks pretty good. So I'm mocking up what it'll look like in the background here, so let's have a look at that. Here's a look at the temple now, and I think that really helps spacing those center figures out with that rectangular block behind them. It makes the figures in more of a circle, and it makes that column look a little less skinny, makes it look a little more solid. So I'll be filling in between the figures with some decorative cement work, and that'll look pretty good, I think. I may even extend it up into the other piece a little bit too. Here's a look at the temple with the figures kind of spaced in a radial pattern around the base. A little higher angle looking down at them. I think it's going to look quite nice in the end when I get it all finished. Every morning I start working on this project and I kind of have a vision of what I want to get done that day. And I usually end up getting about 50 to 75% done of what I had planned. But that's still progress. I think it's making progress. So I'm looking forward to tomorrow to kind of complete this base, get more of these rectangles cast with the figures, get my decorative pieces up, and yeah, it's going to make the base look quite fancy and a little more substantial. My last casting, my figure casting here, it's still a little soft in the end, so I'm going to let it dry overnight to get it fully hardened before I try taking it out of the mold. Maybe because this cement was so liquidy that it needs a little longer time to cure. Or maybe it never will become fully hard. I don't know. Maybe it's just, it was too much of a liquid. So I'll find out tomorrow. I'll open it up and see how this turned out. I was really happy that I was able to get some cement castings off of my Das clay figure. So that's all for tonight. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.